Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So today I want to talk about Big Mom's Rage and the falling castle on Whole Cake Island. And so guys, as a heads up to those out there, the next issue of Shonen Jump is actually releasing early, which if you don't know, we get the chapters on Thursday because they are illegally scantilated and uploaded online. But usually when Shonen Jump is released early, we also get the illegally scantilated versions of our chapters of Shonen Jump as well early. So I would expect it Tuesday or Wednesday. There's obviously no guarantee, but that is usually what happens. But anyway, we probably have a short week between the release of last chapter and the next chapter, and most likely the results, what will happen after the tower falls, will be addressed in the very next chapter. So this video will have relevance for only a few short days, and I debated on whether or not I would want to talk about it or just skim over it and wait for things to happen, but I really find this to be an incredibly interesting discussion point, and my biggest fan, my greatest supporter, my very own son, Dritz the Theorist, doesn't see eye to eye with me here, which first of all breaks my heart, and second of all makes me realize that I need to talk about it. The difference between being a creative thinker and being viewed as an idiot is understanding. If people don't understand why I believe something and I'm wrong, then they're immediately justified. But if at least I can give you some reason as to, or some understanding as to why I believe something, then when it's all said and done and I do end up being wrong, or I could be right as well, but if I do end up being wrong, you say to yourself, well, it was a good idea. But anyway, without further ado, let's discuss what I think will be the most important plot point of the very next chapter, the thing that will truly define the next chapter as far as plot. The tower is coming down, clearly, and so the tower eventually falling, wherever it falls, I don't believe is an enormously big deal. I mean, obviously it will be important, but as far as predictions and speculations occur, it's for the most part set in stone. It would be quite a huge plot twist if someone stops the tower from falling down. And so guys, what is the overall significance of this happening? And so on one hand, I think most people believe that, of course, they were screwed just before then, so the Tamate Bako exploding and taking down the tower obviously saved their skins. But as things stand right now, it only saved them in the short term. It gave them a brief little bit of hope in order to potentially be able to escape the Big Mom pirates. Obviously, the tower will fall down. Everyone on the tower will eventually be on the main island. There will be some amount of calamity. There will be some amount of confusion, and this gives the Straw Hats at least some small amount of time to find a way to get out of this clusterfuck. But I want it known that the tower falling in and of itself does not save them. And so guys, if I'm honest, the only real positive that can be taken from the tower falling in terms of the huge power gap between the Big Mom Pirates and the Straw Hats and their allies is the fact that everyone who is currently outside can fly. That is part of the alliance. So Caesar can fly, the Vinsmoke can fly, although Judge himself is knocked out, so he might be screwed. Sanji can fly and potentially even carry Luffy along with him. And so if the tower falls down and it causes any amount of damage to the fighters who actually matter, it's possible that the allies, for the most part, get out of this without sustaining any damage whatsoever, whereas if the Big Mom Pirates cannot fly, then they might just tank a little bit of damage. But I personally don't really see the tower falling being able to take out anybody who really matters, who would be consequential. But we'll see here. I mean, the people in One Piece tank ridiculous amounts of damage and keep going, so I don't see the tower falling being a huge deal, but maybe it is. Certainly, if the Straw Hats and allies avoid this damage completely, there can only be advantage for them, if only slight. But I can almost guarantee you that the Sweet Commanders and Big Mom will be unfazed by any damage resulting from the tower falling, and these people provide the biggest obstacle against the Alliance. And so, you know, the tower falls down, they're still surrounded by, at the very least, these very, very strong Big Mom pirates. I still don't see escape being an option unless they book it as quickly as possible while everyone is just confused. But even if that were to be the case, the Straw Hats are in the middle of Big Mom's territory, which took several days to reach. I really don't see escape being an option at this point in time, while they still have very strong fighters who are out for their blood. And so I think that in the story we need some way to nerf the Big Mom pirates. The power difference at this point in time is way too extreme. Katakuri proved this straight up by not even moving and taking out Ichiji, who was one of the strongest fighters that they had at their disposal. Capone is down for the count, Judge is down for the count. The Vinsmoke brothers seem pretty badly battered. Luffy is tired, so who's their major fighters that they have left? Jinbei, Pedro, and Sanji? But anyway guys, hopefully I illustrated the point here, which is that I do not think that they can fight. I do not think that they can escape, so you need some hacks method in order to get out of this fucked situation. This is one of the reasons why I believe that Big Mom will very shortly go into a rage. And so it's been a long time since I've explained this, but at the very beginning of Whole Cake Island, Big Mom went on a rage where essentially she couldn't recognize anyone, she couldn't control her actions, she destroyed Whole Cake Island, she could not differentiate friend versus foe, and so Big Mom going on a rage at this point in time would completely remove Big Mom as a direct enemy of the Strats, and it would also make Big Mom an enemy to her very own subordinates. But if Big Mom then becomes a free agent where essentially she's an enemy to everyone, then this severely makes it possible for the Strats to be able to fight their way and escape Whole Cake Island. But they would still be at a disadvantage if it weren't for the fact that I believe that the Big Mom pirates would want to actually stop Big Mom's rage and prevent her from taking the lives of the citizens of their country. So while the Strats and their allies could theoretically just watch Big Mom rage and not intervene at all, I do not think that the Big Mom pirates have this option. So if Big Mom rages, Katakuri or Smoothie or both of them will be forced to try and stop Big Mom, thus eliminating even more enemies the Strats would have to deal with and potentially providing them a means by which that they can escape. But I've only really justified Big Mom's rage at this point from the perspective that this is what the Strats would need in order to get out of the situation, given the premise that of course they will escape alive, at least Luffy will. But I think it goes further than that. I think Big Mom is incredibly likely to rage as well, based on evidence within the pages. Or if it's not exactly her rage, I'm certain that the destruction of the castle will highly impact her emotionally to the extent that breaking the portrait of Mother Carmel did. And so what is it that Big Mom actually values? And interestingly enough, there are 3 things that I specifically want to discuss and correlate. One of which is sweets. Obviously, sweets matter so much to Big Mom. She will literally kill her own subordinates and burn entire countries for the sake of sweets themselves. The next of which is Mother Carmel's portrait. Now, this doesn't really fit in an umbrella sort of situation, but Mother Carmel herself mattered so much to Big Mom, and having been gone for as long as she was, Big Mom sort of placed all of that love on the portrait as a reminder of her past. The reason that I bring these 2 things up is these are the 2 things that caused Big Mom's scream in the earlier chapters of the Tea Party. First, the Straw Hats destroyed the wedding cake, and then second, the Straw Hats destroyed Mother Carmel's portrait. And after that point in time, the Big Mom pirates described her rage meter being full, and she literally started screaming for several chapters consecutively. The point that I want to emphasize here is that huge emotional impacts on Big Mom result in her reaching a state in which she can't control. Whether it was earlier in Whole Cake Island when she went on a rage specifically looking for Kokenbush and destroyed Totland, to these last couple chapters where she was screaming. When things get destroyed that Big Mom loves or is looking forward to, Big Mom does things that allow her opponents to have some sort of advantage on her. And so this is where I want to get to the point here, which is that what is the overall significance of the tower coming down in the last chapter? Well guys, the tower coming down, with as large as it is, which it is huge, it encompasses the majority of the island itself. When it comes down, it will destroy Whole Cake Island. Let's go back to that very last panel of the last chapter of One Piece, where we see the tower falling down. Where is the tower falling? Well, it is going to fall directly on buildings, and we can actually see some people and some other buildings. It's not certain whether the tower is going to fall in that location or not, but if there are people where the tower is falling, you can basically consider them already dead. This tower falling may not injure those that are incredibly strong, but as for the fodder citizens of Whole Cake Island, this tower falling means almost certain death for a very large number of them. The kind of scene that I imagine would be something like a little girl standing amidst the rubble, her mother trapped beneath boulders, bleeding out, her crying, wondering what exactly happened, and this would be widespread through Whole Cake Island. And so why this matters, guys, is that Big Mom has essentially taken Mother Carmel's ideology and made it her own thing, and it is what she is essentially obsessed over from her entire life since she was a little girl. And one of those things is she dreamed to create Whole Cake Island. Big Mom spent 61 years of her life creating Totland and creating Whole Cake Island. She wanted to make a place that Mother Carmel would be proud of, and this adds up extremely well with the fact that the island that Big Mom was at in her youth, when she was 5 and 6 years old, is in fact Whole Cake Island. Big Mom never left, so I believe that Big Mom is literally waiting for Mother Carmel. Even today, she's waiting for her to return and see this great place that Big Mom created for her. So Big Mom gets out of the rubble after the tower collapses. She sees many of her citizens dead and dying. The place is gone up in flames. What kind of emotional reaction do you guys expect out of Big Mom? Rage and sadness, the very same emotions that Big Mom went through when she was going through her temper tantrum earlier during the tea party. On top of her giant and probably delicious castle, her dream country itself will be destroyed. 100% guys, I think that the expectation should be Big Mom will go through some huge emotional trauma after the tower goes down. And you should definitely expect this to in some way assist the strats getting out of this completely fucked situation. The real question, and what I really can't argue for persuasively, is how will this emotional trauma manifest itself, because we've seen two examples. We've seen Big Mom in her sort of rage state where she's destroying, and Big Mom in her crying state where she's yelling. But I think we should expect one of these two things or some derivative of them to occur. I think it would make far less sense for it not to. And so this is why I think that Big Mom will rage. And the reason that I choose the attack rage over the yell rage is simply put because it was introduced at the very beginning of the arc in a manner that was inconsequential to the strats, which registers to me as Oda foreshadowing it. But either way, I see this as the plausible way in which the strats may be able to escape, but as argued many times in the past, I don't think that the strats would leave in this situation. But as also stated in the past, this is what I think should be debated. But I just want to give you guys a friendly reminder, which is that Oda always leaves little hanging plots, and he usually addresses them in the same arcs that he introduces them. Something like Peckham's. We expect Peckham's to return to the story, but in order for him to reach Whole Cake Island, we assume he would need time. Is Pudding actually going to use her powers in Whole Cake Island? I would suspect so. And what about Pound? He disappeared from the story, and we suspect that he will return. So are the strats just going to leave, and then Pound's story is going to be unaddressed? And what about all these details involving Mother Carmel and the fact that Big Mom ate her and isn't aware of it? Neither is she aware of the fact that she killed her own son. Were these just fun facts Oda threw in there just because? I really think that Oda needs time to develop all of these. They're not all going to be pushed off to other arcs, and so in that case, it wouldn't make sense just to run right now. But anyway, guys, if you didn't understand previously, hopefully you understand now why it is that I think Big Mom will go into a rage, hopefully in the end of the very next chapter, or the middle of the next chapter of One Piece, which should be absolutely hyped. And I may be wrong, and that's okay because we're usually wrong, but I feel like this position is highly justified. But hey, that's just a theory. An anime theory. Shout out to MatPat. Anyway guys, love to hear what you have to say, whether you agree or you don't, and why. Share your thoughts, like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always guys, have a wonderful day.